A couple weeks ago, I made a video critical of the Beast games. A couple weeks before that, I sat down with Jimothy. I sat on his lap. I didn't sit on his lap. That's a lie. Whatever the case may be, we talked about the Beast games in that video. And since then, the show has released and there has been a lot of controversy surrounding it. A lot of articles, a lot of claims, a lot of allegations. And after that, I reached out to just under 30 contestants from the Beast games and sat down with 12. Initially, a ton of people didn't want to talk. I had 5 or 10 hard no's within an hour of sending out DMs. And eventually some really awesome people came forward and I got to talk to them. So I asked them about everything. What did they think about the allegations, the class action lawsuit? Would they be willing to do it again? Were they tortured for entertainment? Some of them talked some shit and some of them were really awesome. We didn't really focus on Jimothy at all during this. I asked people about the games and how they were treated and how they felt, and if headlines like these are legit from their perspective. You know, the perspective of the people actually there, not Jimmy and not me. Okay? I like this video. This was a fun one to make. What is your name and your Beast Games number and a little bit about yourself and just how are you doing?
My name is Cornelia. I was contestant 744.
So my name is Rose. I actually, I have a YouTube channel, small YouTube channel, a few thousand subscribers. In Beast Games, I was eliminated on the red team.
I'm sorry, I hung up on you twice because I couldn't figure out what I was doing.
Oh, no worries. That's not a big deal at all.
All right, well, this may come as a shock to you, but I do not have a Beast Games number.
Interesting. You're repping the Beast Games merch.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I had to. I was like, he's gonna interview me. I might as well.
Yeah.
I can attest to the fact that, like, just being eliminated on the red team, I'm in a bunch of group chats and I already feel like isolated.
What's up? What's up?
Where are you based out of?
New Jersey.
New Jersey? Okay, how is it? You seen any drones lately?
Nah, I haven't seen anything. Do my own thing, you know.
I like that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Because I had to self-eliminate in Vegas.
Okay. You made the cooking video, right?
Yep, that was me.
That's cool. That's cool. Was the food good?
Like on the show?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I've been doing good for months going into it, and sure enough, man, had to happen while I was there. Sciatic nerve just nailed me.
Well, what do you do? What is your profession? What are you up to?
Well, I retired from being a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer for almost like 20 years or so. So I got back into like acting. So I do acting, voiceovers full time, and then I do like real estate.
Dude, I'm chilling. What's your name? So I'll call you Phil.
My name's Caleb.
Okay, cool. I'm Evan. Nice to meet you, Caleb.
Nice to meet you, man.
Especially when, like, the articles started coming out. Like, they were saying, like, oh, all the red team people are the people that are, like, you know, talking shit about everything.
Okay, so my name is Cynthia Flores. I go by Sid Cosmo on the show. And my number is 836.
Yeah, so I'm Jalen Blunt. I auditioned for Beast Games probably 2 months before I got the official yes.
There's a sense of responsibility about me that I had to make a decision, and I knew we were getting ready to go into a challenge, and I knew the condition I was in. I was like, if I hurt myself, that's bad enough, but if I hurt somebody else because I'm not responsible enough to say I shouldn't be doing something like this, there's no way I could live with myself. So I had to make that decision to take myself out of the game at that point. So there you go.
My name is Leland Winfrey. I'm a creative producer. I specialize in larger-than-life projects with some of the world's top YouTubers.
I'm sorry, I'm saying too much already.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Keep spitting your truth. Okay, we'll start with the questions. Did you have fun?
For sure. Yes, I had a lot of fun.
Okay.
I had a blast.
Cool.
I had a total blast.
The answers are going to vary based off of Vegas or Canada, but
Of course.
overall, yes, I would say yes, it was fun.
Canada was substantially better.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it. Did you win a lot of money, or did you make a bunch of friends, or, you know, what did you really enjoy about it?
I did not make a lot of money. I challenged myself in more than just a physical way, but also in an emotional way, and met a lot of very kind people. You know, when you're deprived of good food, sleep, your comforts, it's hard sometimes just to go day to day. And I know for some folks, it's what put them out. I knew, you know, it's not just a physical challenge. You got to keep your brain calm or else you're not going to last.
Right.
But it was magical too. It really was.
I've heard from some people and some others not so much. Was there any difficulty in getting like medications, or I don't know if you've seen the headlines of people talking about the allegations of that. What was your experience in regard to that?
I needed medication, but I think once again, the advantage that I had was because I had done this before. So I had kept with me, 3 or 4 days of medication.
Okay.
So I knew there'd be 2,000 people. I knew getting my medication, maybe when I needed it, would be difficult. So I just didn't want that to be an issue for me. I know that it was for some folks. I know that some of it's been exaggerated, but some of it was true. I mean, there were just gaps of time that you could get your medication, and there were only a small number of people that were actually able to give people like psychotic medication.
Okay. You've mentioned the psychological toll a little bit, like part of the game, part of the challenge is the psychological toll. Has it affected your mental state any after or before? Did you strengthen because of it? How do you view that aspect of the Beast Games, the psychological toll?
That's interesting. I did not walk away feeling like I better go see a mental health counselor.
Okay.
I walked away saying, thank God I've been given the temperament that I have and the life experience. I'm 72, so I was the oldest one that went to the city. I mean, I'm a trained psychologist.
Okay,
so,
interesting.
So a lot of my time in the city was actually talking to folks, listening to folks. And so I walked away feeling very fulfilled, to be honest.
Okay.
Wished I had the, physical strength to do better. But I had a lot of people helping me along, to be honest with you.
Did you notice other people weren't handling it as well as maybe you did?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not sure if it wasn't really the Beast Games that was troublesome for folks. When you strip people of their computers and their cell phones and their comforts, the comforts of people, the comforts of their home, the comforts of their food choices, people become raw. And what I experienced from those other folks were that they also become really honest with things that are going on in their lives that are troublesome.
Right.
Or things that they're just realizing are really gifts, real gifts that they have in their lives that they hadn't really stopped to appreciate.
Okay.
So, I mean, there was a time, I'm listening to folks, a lot of the day and talking with folks. And, there was a time that I walked away and went back to my cabin and I realized that, wow, I was just overwhelmed and I just cried for about a half an hour. And there were a lot of tears, but a lot of tears of joy too, and a lot of tears of just sort of feeling reawakened, if you understand that.
Yeah, just learning about a lot of people that you're all kind of in the same sort of situation with, camaraderie.
I mean, there's so many differences in all of us. Some folks were struggling because they didn't have relationships with their kids. Some folks were struggling because they couldn't have kids. We were talking day and night, person to person. Mm-hmm. But it was a fascinating psychological experiment. For sure. You
seem to have had a very positive experience. I'm not sure if you've heard about the lawsuit. There's a lot of people who didn't have a positive experience. Have you heard about that? What do you think about the class action lawsuit?
What do I think? I think that in some cases there's validity, and I didn't see anybody injured, but my understanding is people actually were injured. So if they feel that something could have been done to prevent that from happening, and they feel the lawsuit's the right way, it seems to me that's a little extreme unless they've tried other avenues. We signed paperwork that said, really, we are willing to die to be in this competition.
That's awesome.
So when somebody breaks a shoulder, because they're doing something that's strenuous, because they want to go to the next level, well, that's on them. Come on. You signed your life away when you say, I'm willing to die for you, Jimmy. So it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It was a really competitive group of people.
As a professional, you're a professional, you understand people's mental healths. where do you think that responsibility lies? Or if you had any sort of criticisms, really friendly, critical, building critiques from what you learned, and if you intend on, going to the next event, what do you think would do well for them to know in regard to all that?
Well, first off, you're talking about adults over 18.
Yeah.
So I think every single adult should be responsible for their own medication. I think it's wise to have a nurse and a doctor on call because, people can get sick, but people can also tend to have seizures under certain conditions. So I think it's really important to have at least a doctor, on site. I shouldn't say on call, but on site. There's no reason why people over 18 can't handle their own medication. And if it means, everybody has a clear bag with their medication in it, but that's something that you carry around with you. Mm-hmm. We were given pants that had lots and lots of pockets. There's actually no reason why you couldn't have your own medication. Okay. And it could be that they say we all have to have the same kind of containers. Well, that's okay too. I don't know, maybe drawers someplace, like you'd have drawers for everybody with their number on it. So that's where your medication is that you may need, that you may not want to carry with you all the time, but like an inhaler that you may need but don't need every day. But I think that would take care of that issue, which seems to be, from my understanding, the biggest issue.
Okay, I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, and then underwear.
Yeah.
Underwear. Clean underwear is sort of important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd be nervous if I didn't have the things, like I would feel uncomfortable if I didn't have like my daily sort of the things that keep me going, right? If I didn't have them on my person.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I feel like that definitely should have, been the path from the very beginning. But I really appreciate your time. Is there anything you want to shout out or let anybody know in regard to the Beast Games? Is there any message you have?
My message comes because of my age. So my message is, if you're older, get off the couch. Get yourself challenged in some way or another. You're not going to kill yourself. You can always walk away from these challenges. But you need to do it. You need to do it. And if you've got grandkids, you want to be a hero, do it.
That's awesome.
Because grandkids think, you just sit around in your rocking chair all day long. And if they see you on a MrBeast challenge or on a 4 Fun Guys challenge, they think you're pretty cool. So it gives you a lot of clout. So get off the couch if you're older. Get out there. Do it.
Were the allegations of there being inadequate food, long wait times, and sort of like unsafe environments, from your perspective, were those things valid in any way? How do you feel about those?
Well, for me, I would just say I'm looking at the experience in its entirety, because I know a lot of contestants were only in a small portion of the competition, which was Las Vegas. So from my perspective, things were organized as best as possibly could. We were housed. We were given vouchers to eat twice, sometimes 3 times a day, depending on when we came in or our flights came in. So once we arrived in Vegas, we were given the information of, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get you checked in. We're going to get you in your room. These are the things you can and cannot do. We will provide meals. And when we came down for meals, if it was not feasible or things weren't functioning well, because let's just be honest, how many people have wrangled 2,000 people before? So Murphy's Law is what can go wrong will go wrong. So some things did go wrong, meaning that sometimes our card wouldn't work for getting food, but there was a person on their beat or on their station that was there, giving us information and saying that we can use the card that they had in their hand physically. So we were able to eat. We were able to take our food back up to our hotel rooms. The hotel rooms that were provided were very, very nice. We were able to bring our religious items if we wanted to pray and do things, but we were able to do what we needed to do, get food. I think other contestants were very understanding. So if there's certain things that people couldn't eat, people switched off. So I like protein, so I got some boiled eggs from people that didn't like boiled eggs, and I hated oatmeal, so I gave my oatmeal away. So I don't think it was a big deal for me. I thought that was a way to weed out the people that just couldn't handle competition, because once again, we signed off in the beginning on everything that was going to be happening. and we signed off that we agreed to those conditions. And those conditions were what they were.
You're mentioning you signed some kind of waiver, I assume, beforehand. That was accurate to what actually played out in the events?
Well, I can only speak for myself.
Right.
Because I know for a fact that there were some people that had medication needs and they weren't able to necessarily get them because there was a holdup. So I can't speak on that personally because I didn't have any medication. So for me, I was fine. It didn't really bother me. I had some supplements, but it wasn't a do or die. So I can't negate those things happening, but it didn't happen to me. I can only speak for myself.
Of course. Did you witness any of those things? That is one of the bigger concerns. You did witness.
Yeah, I witnessed that. So people were trying to get in line for, to get administered their things, and they were either delayed or they would have to go and get them because there was so many people. So they would just go to the nurse's station, and I went for the nurse's station just to get some chapstick. I was serviced, but when I was there getting my chapstick, there were people getting their medications, and they would get like a banana. They would get extra food or something that we weren't provided because we weren't to receive any medication. So they would get some sort of banana and a drink that they would give them and give them their medication. But it was more so they had to open their mouth and say they needed it because I think they were just inundated with so many people that they didn't have a schedule and they couldn't actually go up to each person because they were hard to find. Like, thousands of people, and you have to find their number, find their name, and go and find where they are in the midst of a whole auditorium on the outside. So people had to kind of open their mouth and speak up for themselves and advocate for themselves to get the things that they needed.
Okay. Did you witness any sort of like medical emergencies or go ahead?
I think people had some issues, medical issues to begin with. So pre-existing conditions in a situation where you're excitable, you're out of your environment, you're out of your home environment, and also you're getting fed meals at specific times that are not of your own choosing, will always put people that have pre-existing medical conditions in a state of emergency. So some people did have seizures and things of that nature, and medical staff were there to handle it. But a lot of times I'll just be honest, it freaked a lot of the other contestants out because, they were there witnessing it before a person could actually get to a medical person or staff could actually get to that person and help them. It is just natural to if you're not a medical professional to panic or freak out when someone's having a seizure. I think the biggest issue was that, some of the contestants thought that, the medical attention could have been a little bit faster, I would just say, approach the situation and be there immediately when people need medical attention. So I will speak on that because I did witness that. But once again, these people that had pre-existing conditions knew beforehand their medical conditions and knew beforehand the conditions may not be so feasible for people that have medical concerns. So I see it from both angles.
I see what you're saying.
Biased.
Beyond that, we already talked about the food a bit, the medical stuff, the undergarments. I mean, all those things kind of tie in. It's inconvenient, and it's a system that's dealing with a lot of people, and it's bound to either improve or, come apart. And it seems like that improved over time, just across the board, from what you're saying. I mean, right? Yeah,
it did, and I think that a lot of people, we caught wind of things that were happening, and we just thought that a lot of it outside of people that had specific medical conditions were being dramatic. They were looking for, you have to realize with television, this industry, I'm relatively unknown. No one, I'm not a household name. So a lot of people are looking for a come up, whether that's clout, attention, or some sort of monetary compensation. And if you have none of those things in mind and you're just going in wholeheartedly trying to go into a competition, have an experience, and look at the bright side of things, you see things a whole different perspective. I was there, and if I had a notepad and just mark down how many people complained over the most mundane things, that's the nature of people. They're gravitating toward negativity because they didn't see the positive. And a lot of those people eliminated themselves because that was just their personality. People are going to people. You cannot please everyone. And granted, like I said, that we're not trying to negate or take away from people that had emergencies and medical conditions.
Definitely.
But we're just talking about regular old people that were in the game, no medical conditions, and just complaints over complaints over complaints. But one thing I will say, Caleb, it's easy to come after the fact and have hindsight of 2020
Absolutely.
to make a complaint publicly. But did you do that when you were right there, then and there, to go up to people and say what you need and vindicate for yourself and advocate for yourself? If you didn't do that, I really don't have the respect for you after the fact when you go public with something.
Well, I really appreciate your time. That's you're very well spoken. I appreciate the rational perspective. It is very good to see some unbiased, perspective from the show. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything you want to shout out, or what do you want to let the people who are watching my video know?
Well, I just want to let the people watching your video know, hey, hello, my name is Mia. I just really had an overall great experience, the highs and lows of the game. I appreciate the production because they worked very hard and they weren't always in the know of everything that was going on. I appreciate the camera people because these people don't get credit. And also I appreciate the other contestants that, helped me to see things in a different perspective and motivate me through the game. And Caleb, I just want to say I appreciate you to do the research and get the people that were actually there, their opinion and their mindset about the game. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, and follow my journey and follow me at Mia's Fate.
Thank you so much, Mia. Incredible. I really appreciate your time. Did you feel safe? I mean, you weren't there for a terribly long time. Did you, for the time you were there, did you feel safe?
See, the thing about that is, like, the moment that I got there, like, even before the game even started, I wouldn't say that I felt in danger, but I felt it was disorganization, right? It seemed clear to me that no one had ever done this sort of thing before with 2,000 contestants, and there was a reason that no one had ever done it before, right? I don't know if anyone told you this. What I had heard is that the rope tied around somebody's neck. Did anyone say that?
No, I didn't hear any. I didn't hear any.
Okay, so this is gonna be new to you. So
okay.
I am on the red team, right? We're pulling this rope. And granted, the reason I'm on the red team is because, I'm an obese woman, and the challenge is essentially, everybody's rushing to get jerseys, right? And they were saying, oh, all the men go to the front, all the women go to the back. And so obviously, when that is the challenge to run to get a jersey, I'm not gonna be able to do that, which is whatever, right? But the problem is when we pull this rope, right? We're pulling on the rope, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the challenge, it goes from this pulling motion to everybody is just stuck, not knowing what they're doing. And so when I stopped, I asked this girl next to me, like, hey, what's going on? Like, why did we do so badly? Why did everyone stop pulling? And she says to me that the rope went around somebody's neck. And I was like, what? And so I go home and I look it up online and I see a news article saying the same thing. And I'm like, huh? And in the news article, they say like crazy things, like that production was telling them to keep pulling even though people were falling and the rope went around somebody's neck. Like, I didn't see this myself, right? It's a large stadium. There's 400 people pulling this rope. And the people at the front of the line don't have communication with the people in the back of the line.
Right.
But even though there's no communication, I can't confirm it. But I just remember hearing that and just like being so confused. Like, I don't know. Like, I would just like to see the footage.
Yeah. I heard about a seizure, but I have yet to hear the rope around the neck. That's a new one.
Apparently, what I'm being told is like people stopped pulling the rope because they were trying to help people who fell, or because they were helping the girl who the rope tied around her neck. And it's like, that's why we lost the challenge. I mean, like I said, I would need to see the footage because I can't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But if this is true at all, and I'm just like, why didn't they just stop and then refilm the challenge once everything was sorted out? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Right. So then the rope was around the neck, and that's what prevented that. That's why you guys stopped. Your team stopped.
That is what I believe. If I see footage that shows a different story, then I'll change my mind.
Interesting. Yeah, I need more context. So, and that's like the red team in the very beginning. That's which challenge was that?
First challenge.
First challenge.
Pulling the rope. First challenge. Like, we literally just go into the stadium, we get into our lines, and that's the first thing that happens. It takes like literally 15 seconds, and you can even see in the footage, like, we're like way behind everybody else. And I could just tell that something was off. It just did not feel like we were pulling. And I was like, what is going on? And that's why, like, when I was watching the interview that you did with him, he was talking about like, oh, do you think we'd really keep filming? And I was like, wait, but what about with the rope situation? And I'm like, listen, I understand that maybe he just didn't see it, right? There's so many people in that stadium. It's entirely conceivable that he wasn't aware of this, but clearly there were some people that were. So I have to imagine, again, maybe he can debunk this with footage. and that would make me feel better about all this. But it's something that's been on my mind ever since Vegas, and it's just something I want answers for.
Was there a positive event that you can think of that did you meet anybody you enjoyed? You know, what did you take away from it that was positive?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like, I'm not here to like shit on MrBeast. Like, I was a fan of MrBeast going into this, right? I think one of the best things about this whole experience was like, we had no social media. And what that led to was like 8 to 12 hours where we literally just talked to people. We met a bunch of new people, people were making friends, and we all just like bonded over this collective experience. And I feel like that is so cool. And just having stuff like that in general, like that's easily the best part of this whole thing. You know, not the money, not the clout, not any of that. Just like meeting people and getting to disconnect from like all this other stuff going on in real life or social media for like a day. Or for me, it was a day. Actually, technically 4 days. But one day that I was like in the stadium, you know? I mean, it's a fun experience. Despite all of like the chaos and all the like craziness and the messiness that happened, I still like met a lot of people, a lot of cool new friends from this whole thing. And I feel like that alone makes it worth it.
What do you think just in general of the show? Do you think it's like torturing people for entertainment, or you think there's ethical issues? You think it's a fun game show?
One of the things I have an issue with is all the self-sacrifice challenges. Like, a lot of people are getting eliminated for something that's not a fault of their own. And I just don't think that that's like fair to everybody who spent so much of their time to do something like this. Another thing that I want to say, and I'm making my own video where I talk about everything more in detail.
Yeah.
The one challenge that he does where there's like 4 people that they hire as team captains, right? And they all have to, you know, are they going to take the $1 million?
Right.
From what I heard, the reason that those 4 people were picked is because they weren't motivated by money, which basically means that they had money going in. Now, in my video, I go into each of them individually, and obviously it's speculation. I can't know for sure, but based on the things that I've heard, like one of them is a pro wrestler and her husband's like the bounty hunter for the Stokes twins. One of them like worked with A-list celebrities and I was told has enough money in the bank that $1 million is not life-changing. One of them claimed to be homeless, but lives in a 6-figure car. And the other one is like a previous MrBeast contestant. So like you think about that and it's like, okay, well, it kind of makes sense why they were chosen to be like the leaders for their teams and why they didn't take the money. I mean, like I said, is that like a big deal? I don't know. But to me, I kind of look at the show a little differently now.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed as well is the self-sacrifice challenges. You're kind of rewarding people for having a lack of integrity in a sense. It's like you're eliminating people. And that's a lot of people have mentioned that it's like, man, next time I'm not going to have any integrity. I'm going to be an ass. I mean, is there anything else you want to say or shout out, or you think there's anything we missed?
Yeah, so I just wrote down a few notes. Do you mind if I just go over these real quick?
Yeah, sure.
First thing I want to say is like, I do worry that like after this comes out, they're going to like start gossiping on me in like the group chats and like socially isolate me. I think I briefly mentioned that. Also, people want to talk about like, oh, this didn't happen. These people are lying. Like the guy microwaves on YouTube. Like, come on. Like, is it really that hard to believe that, you know, maybe this 2000 show event could have like a few injuries in there? It doesn't necessarily mean that he's like an evil person. Like, obviously, I think things improved in Toronto, right? And I think it's important to acknowledge that, like, yeah, it did get better, right? But at the same time, like, that doesn't mean you just dismiss the stories of the people that this happened to.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's good. I feel like I covered a lot in like a short amount of time.
I think you'd be surprised. I don't think you're going to be isolated. I mean, I hope not, at least. A lot of, pretty much everybody has said the same sort of things that you're saying. Yeah, it's not like, you know, it's not like this air of, you know, negativity or criticism. You were eliminated early and you don't believe that, you know, it was that fair. There's people who lasted longer and they were eliminated. They don't believe it's fair. There's not really a difference. I mean, from what I can see, I think a lot of the criticism is totally valid, and I think the showrunners, you know, if they take a lot of it, it'll be a better show next time. And having people like you, and a lot of the people that I've talked to as well, I think it'll just improve all of it. The experience of the players.
I hope so.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, it's cool though. I'm really glad that you shared your time with me.
Of course,
and,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you feel safe, etc., when you were in Vegas? Did you feel like you were taken well care of, or do you have any like criticism that you would give to the staff and team there and MrBeast, etc.?
So Vegas was pretty nutty, I will say, but I won't act like I went in thinking it was going to be perfect, because it did feel like it being called the Beast Games I fully felt like it was going to be intense. So like all the allegations of like not having enough food, not having adequate like opportunities to sleep, all that stuff, that I fully was anticipating and didn't have an issue with. But along the process, we could see that there were holes that were not okay. So for a decent chunk of us, so I personally wear contacts, they were taken from us. So they told us that that was considered a prescription medication. I had no access to vision for like a good amount of time. And they actually lost my contacts. It wasn't specifically the production staff, it was like the medical team that they hired. And they lost my contacts and ended up finding them hours later. But anyway, it was very frustrating because I had lost my vision, but then I would see people to my left and right that were like needing like diabetes medication, heart medication, mental health medication. It got to a point one time where we gathered together to go get our prescriptions, and there was a girl who was having like a psychotic break, and one of the wranglers or staff members actually screamed at her and threatened to eliminate her.
Wow.
It was pretty intense, and we were like, okay, she's literally having a psychotic break because she needs her med, and you're getting onto her for being off the med. So it's like it was pretty intense. Everyone was really defensive of one another, and this is kind of like where this like trauma bonding starts. It kind of all got figured out after like the second day, but 48 hours of having to deal with that is pretty intense, especially when you're like in a foreign environment. But in terms of the production and the staff and all that, there was a lot of obvious tension in Vegas, and there were times even prior to getting to Allegiant Stadium that people were like really thirsty or had to go to the bathroom or whatever, that you would hear certain people say, if anyone asks for water one more time, I'm going to eliminate you. And that was pretty nuts to hear. The communication was always different. So it was always, one person would say, this is really shocking. One person would say, this is part of the games. Like if you feel like this is like a toll on you or it's taking a toll on you, just know that we are actually considering that this is part of the game. So people were like, that's not okay. Withholding meds is not part of the game.
Yeah, that's
and then they're
weird.
like, oh, no, that's not what we mean. That's not what we meant. We just mean like the psychological part. So we're like, okay. And then another person would be like, no, this is unacceptable. Like, I'm talking to the staff. And like, it was just like everyone was saying different things. And you could tell there was like poor communication.
Yeah,
so,
disorganized, too many people, poor communication, under preparation. Yeah, that was. What about in Toronto? I assume that was not the case there, because that's what I've heard.
No, in Toronto, like literally as soon as I pulled up or got off the plane and pulled up to the shuttle, they were already handing us out water, granola bars, Rice Krispie treats. Like they were already
Liquid death.
Liquid death. Yeah, everyone hated the liquid death.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
You don't know what is up with the distilled water liquid death, but nobody wanted it.
Do you think it's ethical to be tortured for entertainment? Do you think that's ethical?
No, obviously no. I mean, if you're fully consenting to being tortured and you are willing to do it, I guess to an extent. But I think when you start having lump sums of money involved, you start getting to like a weird, morality issue.
What do you think about the lawsuit?
The Vegas one?
Yeah.
I think there's people who like adequately, we had a couple people that had seizures that I know of, and people who are like injured and went through some stuff for not having their meds. I feel like they're very adequate. In terms of the people saying like, oh, they starved us, like, yes, like they didn't give us much food maybe the first 48 hours. And that sucked, but it was like we were always hydrated at that point, And so I don't really feel like the argument of like being starved and all of that stuff is like, or being like tortured psychologically is a fair representation of like what it was. Like, yes, I was saying like I have grievances specifically on the medical side of it. Yeah. And maybe the beginning parts of like being hydrated, the miscommunication, but that got resolved so fast that I don't see why people are creating a lawsuit out of it.
I think that's where I'm at as well. Like from all these people that I've talked to, I think that's the most eloquently put way that I've heard of just the general consensus, right? Like there's a lot of very valid stuff that happened for sure, and there's also just like a lot of not. It's just like it's a competition, of course, but it devalues the actual important stuff when there's so many people who are I don't know, kind of making a mountain out of a molehill pretty objectively, especially when there are examples of real bad things that happened. I mean, like it's just
Right.
seems unnecessary.
I will make one note. I don't know if this is like lawsuit worthy, but it is a point of criticism. They did ask us before the games of anybody's dietary restrictions. And like you've probably heard like the joke that like, oh, all the halal boys got like their lamb chops or whatever. Like, oh, they're good. They're really good food. But while that's great and they fulfilled like the cultural needs, like the true dietary restrictions like allergens, they did not do a very good job in Vegas.
Interesting.
And so one of my best friends in the games, her name's Sam, she's allergic to soy.
Okay.
And virtually every single thing we got in Vegas had soy in it.
Wow.
There was almost nothing that had soy. I won't speak fully for her, but like she would develop her reaction and have to just endure it. And a lot of people were very frustrated by that because it's like if they're vegan, they can't, or if they're vegan, they can't eat meat, but they are given tofu, which is all soy.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that I definitely like. My heart goes out to those people.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have that, but I knew to several people who had allergies that those restrictions were met. But again, I don't know if that's like lawsuit worthy. None of those people are joining in on the lawsuit, but definitely something that is a point of criticism.
Did you hear about the rope getting tied around the lady's neck?
No.
See, that's what so like this is a big deal apparently that I heard of from one person mentioned it, and then you look it up and it's in a bunch of articles. Yeah. Some team during the tug of war, a person got their rope around their neck somehow, which I don't know how that's possible, to be honest.
I don't think that's possible. I don't want to like.
That's what I was like. I was like, that doesn't.
From someone's experience, but like, there's no way that would have been possible.
Yeah, like what I'm thinking is maybe like they pulled it and it like went up and hit her in the neck potentially.
That could have happened.
Yeah,
for sure.
But like it wrapped around. I mean, it would pop your head off.
I wouldn't even say that that's possible, honestly, because there were. You probably couldn't tell in the video, but like there were so many people pulling the rope that people had to be like I don't even know what you call them, just like spectators on the side because not enough people fit on the rope. So there could never at any point, unless you're at the very front, be enough slack for it to hit you on the neck. I fell and I like got trampled, but there was no way that the rope could
Interesting.
hit me.
It seems like a red team thing where there's like a team of people who kind of view that they got shit on.
The red team, I will say, I mean, I don't know that you're asking, but the red team did royally get screwed. I had actually friends on red, and it broke my heart. Like, it makes me emotional because I was fortunate that whenever I joined the green team, I had a decent amount of friends up there, like guys and girls, that I had made in just like 24 hours. And we stuck together, and I had no issue getting a penny, whatever you call those little jerseys. I had no issues getting a penny, even though like a lot of people were like, we want strong people on the team. I had no issues. But I did see the like snatching from other teams more so. And the team that I saw the most was pink and yellow. And those were the two teams that had a lot of men that were basically against having anyone who was older, any women, any whatever. And specifically, I heard it most in pink, where men were saying, we don't even want women on our team, or like just being really toxically masculine. And one of my friends who is an amputee, she had an amputated foot, so she had a prosthetic foot. And she was one of those people who got thrown into red because that was like the last remaining place. But so many people got their jerseys taken, saying, go to red, go to red, go to red. And that really broke my heart because everyone could see that red was full of like elderly people, girls, smaller people, and like a few men. And I think at that point it was obvious that they were not going to be the ones to make it. And it just makes me emotional because it's just really tragic and sad that tragic is so dramatic, but you know what I'm saying. It's sad that these people came in with the same excitement as us, but because a couple of people wanted to spoil it for everyone in terms of fairness, they ended up there. Mind you, we're without phones, so you're basically forced to talk to each other, share each other's stories. People are constantly saying, oh, like, if I was on the show, I wouldn't care about all these people, I wouldn't sacrifice myself. When you're in it, you build a connection, you hear people's very intimate stories and like what they've been through, what they've overcome, and you start relating it to like your siblings, or you start identifying people as people in your life or in your family. And then you just have this bond where you're like watching them get eliminated or watching them sacrifice, and you sob because like everyone is like a real person to you there. But that being said, the trauma, while it exists, it was one of the most beautiful experiences. Like, we even had Jimmy and Mac and multiple people telling us, like, y'all are too nice to each other. Like, y'all need to be meaner. We want more entertainment. And all of y'all are just sacrificing yourself for nothing. But it's just, you had to be there to experience it and to understand it. Like, it's like one of those, like they say, from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. From the inside out, you can't explain it.
That's interesting. Yeah. If there's anything you want to shout out or let anybody know, let me know.
I have a YouTube channel. It's Sin Cosmo. I have an Instagram, Sin Cosmo, TikTok, Sin Cosmo. It's all the same. And that's where I'll be posting.
Cool.
I don't really have anything outside of that, but I'm excited to see what you post and to see people's responses to it all. But yeah, Beast Games is the best. I can't wait for season 2, and hopefully they'll bring me back.
Did you feel like safe when you were there? Did you feel like a sense of well-being? Did you feel like the staff had your best interests? How did you feel about that?
Okay, in Vegas, I felt like there was too many people for them to really be focused on people's needs. We didn't eat very often. I think we did end up getting 3 meals a day, but it was so spread out because it took so long to film, or it just took long. It was just a long process in general. And then when we did eat, as you saw, I would estimate each meal to be under 300 calories. That's just my personal estimate. Also, like, there was little things, like we were in the Allegiant Stadium, which just has like a giant window way up high over the top. So one day we're in Las Vegas in the middle of summer. So I asked, is there any sunscreen anywhere? Can I get some sunscreen? Because I have a pretty fair complexion and I'll burn even if there's like clouds out. Mm-hmm. And so the guy says, no, there's a big window up there, so you should be fine. Like, it should be totally fine. And it's like, I asked nicely, and then you met me with like that kind of response. And that was the only thing that actually I felt like I was going to cry after that interaction. I didn't think it was a crazy question to ask. And I know that windows don't block UV rays.
Yeah, they don't. They're translucent.
Yeah.
What's like the biggest criticism you have that you think is perfectly valid and that you feel almost a little uncomfortable about being honest with? And by the way, if you do want to say this and you decide you don't want to after, you can let me know and I won't put it in the video if you feel uncomfortable.
A lot of people have talked about the medications and the food and the underwear situation, all that. But I feel like what hasn't really been touched on is my experience before even going into the games, like while in the hotel holding portion of it, and the experience after the games in Las Vegas, same thing, trying to get a hotel. So when I first got to Vegas, they took our key cards from us. And from what I've heard, this varied depending on what hotel you were in. Like, I talked to another contestant who was able to leave his hotel and go play blackjack at another hotel, whereas they took my key card and said, okay, you have, I think it was like $25, $30 or something in room service for the rest of the day. Just call room service and just get your food that way. So I waited for like, I think it was 6 hours before I finally started being like, I finally started trying to contact the staff downstairs, because I kept calling room service, like, is it on the way? Is it on the way? Is it on the way? And they would say, yeah, it's on the way. It's on the way. It's just a big hotel. It's on the way. And so they kept saying that until eventually they just wouldn't even pick up their phone. So I was like, I haven't eaten in like probably 7 or 8 hours at that. And I think they said, yeah, we'll bring your key card up to you. And then they never brought it. So then I had to call downstairs again. And then they were like, just come downstairs and we'll give you your key card. And so then I ordered DoorDash, but then they told me I couldn't leave the building. So then I had to like try to coordinate and make the DoorDash driver come inside to meet me, because they don't usually do that. I think in Las Vegas, They'll just bring it around to the valet and you meet them there. So yeah, that was really stressful before even heading in. I called my mom and my fiance a bunch, just being like, I haven't eaten in 8 hours and I don't know what to do. And they'd be like, is it part of the game? I'm like, no, it's not part of the game. It's just really bad planning right now. And then when I left the games in Las Vegas, they didn't have hotel rooms ready for people. So I was awake for 36 hours after the games ended. Yeah, because we started filming the day before, stayed up all night, and then I didn't get my hotel room until 9 p.m. the next night.
Wow. Okay. That's valid. And that's bad too. Like, that should not have happened, obviously. Were you ever delayed in getting anything you needed aside from obviously the sunscreen? That was clearly a delay.
Yeah, I was supposed to get birth control. Like, you're supposed to take birth control, I believe, within a 2-hour time frame. I think it's 2 hours. And at one point I asked, can I please take my birth control? And they said, is it life-threatening? And I'm like, I don't think it's life-threatening. I don't know what the repercussions are for not taking it within the 2-hour time frame, so I wasn't able to get it.
And that was in Vegas?
Yeah, that was in Vegas.
Yeah, that checks. That checks out. I've definitely gathered a vastly different experience in Vegas versus Toronto.
Yeah, in Toronto, I could get it whenever. They would just take me away from whatever we were doing, and I would go get my prescriptions.
You know, there's a lawsuit as well. I'm not sure if you know about the class action.
Yeah, I framed it. I have it framed in a gold frame.
You have the lawsuit? Like is it your like them asking you to join, or what is the?
It's just the Beast Games class action. I can bring it over here if you want.
Oh yeah.
Website. Okay.
I would love to see it. That is incredible.
I just never thought I would like take part in something like this that actually gets a class action lawsuit afterwards. So I framed it, and it says, "Are you a victim and potential class member?" And that's on my wall now with my other art.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it says if you're one of the over 1,000 contestants who competed in the Beast Games competitions this summer, you may have a claim against the companies responsible for unpaid wages and harm caused, and you may be entitled to monetary relief.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you say no?
No, I'm not a part of that. I'm not a part of that.
What do you think?
It's fun.
What do you think about it? What do you think about a lot of the, you know, there's definitely some valid reasons I've heard that you could take someone to court over, but there's a lot of waivers as well. What is your sort of perspective on the class action?
I could possibly see the labor code violations and kind of the failure to pay minimum wages and stuff like that. I could see some of it. The only thing, I could see most of it being possibly deemed as true, except for the sexual harassment. I didn't really see any sexual harassment. And like for the red jersey game, or the jerseys where we had to like pull the 10,000-pound balls, I didn't really see some of the stuff that people are claiming to have happened. That's the only thing.
Okay. Did you take anything from it? Did you learn anything? Did you feel, you know, what's the biggest thing you stepped away with? 100 grand cash?
No, I wish, but for me, I learned that MrBeast is a marketing genius. To have start out with 2,000 people, and then start the next show with 1,000 people, and have all those people sharing to people they know, and they're sharing to people they know. Already, that's just like a huge amount of people to start with in one show. And then I also learned, like, he didn't really do a whole lot of marketing, I felt like, for the show until the show actually came out. The other thing I learned is that I need to, in the next season, I need to play with less integrity, because I don't think the nice guy wins in these kind of games.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah. No, definitely, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
That's not.
I need to play a little more unfair towards people.
Yeah. So far, I haven't talked to anyone who's won money. So.
Yeah. I mean, I had the opportunity to take money a few times, but it wasn't enough for me.
Yeah, that's integrity. I appreciate it. But yeah, is there anything that you want to shout out, or anything, you know, that you think's important? I'm talking to so many people. There's no way this will be like a 10-hour video at this point. Is there anything specific you want to tell, or anything you think I missed that you want to let people know, or just shout out? You know.
I wonder if anyone's mentioned this. MrBeast gave us our per diem it was $60 as soon as we ended the games in Las Vegas. He paid it all in $1 bills. When our hotels were late, he also paid $100 more all in $1 bills. And I don't know if that's interesting, but I found it interesting. I took a picture because it's just all in.
That's crazy. Can you send me that picture?
Yeah, I can send you a picture.
Cool. Anything you want to shout out? Obviously, you have a YouTube channel.
Yes, I'm Kira Katsu on YouTube, and I'm Kira the YouTuber on Instagram. And I make a lot of Beast Games related content, and just add my commentary, and I do little comedy skits and stuff like that. So if you're interested, check me out.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your honesty. And yeah, I hope they do another season, and I hope that you get to be in it and win money.
Me too. Me too. Me too. I want to try again.
Thank you so much for your time, Kira. How was the experience for you? Was it, you know, one of the best experiences you've had in a long time, or, you know, do you want to do it again? What was your experience there?
It was a very unique experience, because I live in Burbank. I know it's a suburb, so it's a nice area, but the only reason we live here is because my parents get free rent, because my dad works and I work with him. So I was being treated like a king over there. And I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, that's really interesting. That's interesting. Was the food inadequate? There's a lot of allegations of that. Were the wait times insane? Were there any unsafe environment? Was there anything from your perspective that you picked up on, or, you know, yeah, what do you think?
I don't think it was unsafe. In my opinion, it is going to be kind of a harsh opinion. You know, I believe in grit, and a lot of people were complaining the whole time, even when all their needs were being satisfied.
Okay.
So, you know, that's my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And what about like during the challenges? Did you ever feel unsafe during the challenges?
I didn't feel unsafe during the challenges, no.
Cool.
I just feel like a lot of people could not handle them physically. There were a lot of people that would, they couldn't run.
Right.
I witnessed people trip and fall, as you've seen in the show. And that was happening a lot. And I think it's because that was, you know, I don't think they were prepared for that, you know? That's my opinion on it.
They weren't prepared for the fucking Beast games, is what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you consider there to have been like a psychological toll, you know, a physical toll? You know, you mentioned people not being able to run. Do you think people were underprepared, and that's sort of what led to these allegations? You personally, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. No. Get into that's a good question, because I was talking to a lot of people who were on the red team, which were the people that got eliminated first. And they were just very disorganized, and they were all talking about suing. A lot of them were just talking about suing this, suing that, but I witnessed it. None of them really got hurt. Like, and they were just, in a sense, they were really mad that they lost.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But they were really disorganized. I saw that they were disorganized because I was on the pink team. But, you know, I saw the red team, and they were just really disorganized when I saw them leaving. They were calling us, they were cussing at us as they were walking out.
Yeah.
And they were calling us little bitches or all this other stuff. And they were really angry. But I think it was because they lost, not because it was unfair.
Was the food good, or was it disgusting, or what?
No, it was just like, it was regular food. Like, I liked it. I honestly, like, I'm not an oatmeal guy. It was oatmeal. But yeah, it was enough to give me energy. And, you know, in my opinion, I feel like everyone was eating the same. So everyone was on the same playing field. You know what I mean? We're all eating oatmeal. We're all eating the same food. So we're all at the same energy. I don't know how to explain it. I guess it made it fair, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because there were some really fit guys there. There were some really guys doing acrobatics and stuff. So
how were the staff being affected? The staff of the event, the production team, the people working at the stadium. Were they nice to you?
They were nice to me, personally. Yeah, they were nice, very informative. There were some times where people got lost in translation because they weren't using the bull horns, you know, those horns, and I don't know why they were using their voice for like 1,000 people. I don't know why they were doing that. But I saw that they were tending to my needs, and they were doing what they were supposed to do. I didn't really talk to them too much.
You seem to be very grateful. You had a relatively good experience on the show. I mean,
yes.
Did you never felt like you were being exploited? That's what a lot of the harangue currently online is that like it's massive exploitation. You're taking advantage of people's, you know, their desire for money, their need for fine. Like, how do you feel about that aspect of it? Or were you just genuinely grateful to have participated?
I was genuinely grateful to participate because I wasn't there for the money. I turned down $100,000. I was just there for the experience. Personally, I don't feel like I was exploited. I feel like I was there to make a fool of myself. So, I mean, that was my goal.
That's cool, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like the producers weren't like telling you to do stuff that would make you look gooberish or
No, they were actually, like, a few producers were loving the fact that I was being funny and being straight up.
Okay.
A lot of people were saying the same stuff when they were asked the same questions. I don't know, like, they were like, oh, what would you do with the money? They're like, oh, I would help everybody. And I was just being honest. I'm like, yeah, I would help my family, but then spend it on myself. And then, I don't know what you mean. I was one of the honest people.
Yeah, I got you.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of people were just like, I don't know, like, trying to make themselves look like angels.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Is there anything you want to say specifically about it that you want people to hear that you want me to put in my video, or you know, what do you want to shout out? What are you working on? Anything like that?
Okay, I want to shout out the fact that that money's not everything, and that the reason I learned that recently, I feel like if I didn't go to Beast Games, I wouldn't be working on these music videos that are doing great now, and my music that's actually kind of blowing up. So I wouldn't have had that motivation without the Beast Games. I feel like Jimmy was trying to push people past their comfort zone. I've been doing great ever since then. Like I never used to post content every day. Now I do, and I think the Beast Games had a lot to do with that. So yeah, no, I'm just working on my music. It's my name is Matt Cezo. I have a song that just came out. It's called Beast Mode. And if you go on my Instagram, I actually interviewed a few people. I asked them, what's your message to Jimmy? And a lot of people like were positive. Like we're really grateful that he included us in a world-breaking show. So we're a little tired.
All good.
I could say one thing.
Okay.
You know, after I gave up the money, I was really sad and depressed for like a few weeks. But I realized that I don't think I was depressed because I lost the money. I was just depressed because like when you're there and nobody has phones, everyone's actually connecting with each other. They're actually talking to each other.
Yeah.
They're not judging you. Like if I don't have a lot of followers, someone would want my Instagram and treat me differently because I don't have a lot of followers. But I didn't even know a lot of these people were famous or just, you know, they have a lot of followers, and we were all treating each other equally. Until this day, we're all in a group chat still treating each other equally. And that is so rare in this society now.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I forgot to mention that I really want to put out there, that the Beast Games really brought out the best in people, because, you know, all these people could have took $100,000, but they didn't. And they didn't even know me. So it gave me a little faith in humanity because everyone was actually connecting, and we're still connected. We're still talking to each other. I have friends that I still hang out with now. So yeah, that's my message.
Cool.
So
yeah, that's camaraderie. Yeah, that's the trauma bond that people have been talking about after all this stuff.
Bond. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Cool. All right, man. You have a good rest of your day. Across the board, in regard to the allegations, how true are they from your perspective?
There were two types of Beast Games experiences. There was Beast Games in Vegas. Why the hell is it bringing up balloons?
Happy birthday, dude.
There were two types of experiences. There was Beast Games in Vegas, and there's Beast Games in Canada. And they were two completely different worlds. And the reason why is because, quite frankly, there were 2,000 people in Vegas and 1,000 people in Toronto. The problems of such an endeavor compound after 1,000 people. How do you ensure that every single person of those 2,000 people is safe and they have their medication? There were certain circumstances that I saw firsthand where I know there was one girl who wanted tampons, and the tampons they had, you know, they had tampons, of course, because they weren't that stupid, but they didn't. She was allergic to mainstream brands of tampons.
Okay.
And so they didn't have that specific tampon brand. And so when it came down, you know, when we're locked up in the stadium, the reason why the solution wasn't as simple as them just ordering it is that MrBeast hired a local contracting group, and some of them had no idea what they were doing. Some of them were rude, some of them were mean. I'd say 95% of them were really good people and would go out of their way to help us. But
okay.
It would be something like for example, if someone needed their medication, you know, a contestant would say to the crew member, I need my medication. The crew member would say, I would love to give you your medication, but this person above me is telling me that you can't have your medication because we can't find it. It's in a specific room and we don't know where that room is, and they're not telling us. And the contestant would be like, oh, how come you can't give me my medication? And then be like, well, because this crew member is telling us, and it'd just be like a mess.
Interesting.
There were also problems on the contestant side. You know, to get on Beast Games, you had to go through a long, lengthy process. A background check, psychological examination, social media check. You had to go through a very rigorous process. And so there was one where it's a psychological exam. It was like a 300 question questionnaire. There's questions like, have you ever felt suicidal before? You know, do you have a positive or negative outlook on life? Or it was like, do you have a good relationship with your parents? So if you even said no, I don't have a good relationship with your parents, they would deny you because they were so scared of taking any risk on anybody.
Interesting.
And so if someone would have said, oh, I have a 0.01% of chance of getting a seizure, they would have been denied.
Interesting.
So it's like people would just lie about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were at risk of seizures.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't tell the Beast team that they were at risk of seizures, and then whoop-de-doo, they go to Beast Games and they get a seizure, and then it's like, oh, how come MrBeast? And it's because they lied to them. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Stuff like that. That made it very hard for the Beast Games team, you know, to resolve that, because it's the contestants would lie to them, you know?
Interesting. What was something negative outside of what we've already talked about?
Yeah, and I try to approach it very practically speaking. You know, I'm not a MrBeast blazer. Dude, bro's rich enough and famous enough, he'll be fine. So I'd say one thing was that this was so me living in Vegas and the first Beast Games being held in Vegas, I was told that I was a standby contestant. And so I didn't even know I was going to be on Beast Games until like the day of. They literally called me at 9 a.m. and they told me, hey, can you be at the hotel in 3 hours? I was like, what? You guys like have led me on for months telling me that I'm a standby contestant, and now you guys want me to be there in 3 hours. And so what they did is that to hide our jerseys from the general public, it's like 2,000 people walking around like the convention center of the Rio. They had us put on trash bags, which I'm sure you've seen those images, which was just like, I understand what they're coming from, but it just looks so bad because we're all wearing trash bags walking around. I don't really care, to be honest, but I could see how it could come off as dehumanizing. Because we're wearing trash bags and we're about to walk into MrBeast, competition where he's gonna basically like torture us for entertainment. So that was bad. And then also on that first day, and then also on that day, we waited for like, I swear to God, like 8 hours straight, waiting to like go into there. And thank God, like when I got there, they told me I could come in, but there were some standby contestants who had to wear the trash bags, were waiting for 8 hours without being fed. And then they got there at midnight and they were told, oh, we have 2,000 contestants. Bye, have a nice day. It was very whack. And some of these people had literally flown in from like LA or Salt Lake City or Phoenix. And then they were just told, oh, we filled our spots. Bye. It was very scummy of them. But also, to be fair, the reason why there were even standby contestants is that people in the hotels were told that they can't leave their hotel rooms. I don't really know why, to be honest. It's kind of like a lame reason. But, like since we're like adults, some of them are like in their 40s with wife and children and like a full-time career. They were like, I'm just going to go out. So they went out and they would like gamble or they would drink because, we're in Las Vegas. And those people were actually like rejected. They were like cast off the games. And so they suddenly had like too few amount of people that could be on it. So that's why they like called people up the day of. But they called up too many people up the day of.
Interesting.
And so they had an excess of people.
What do you think about the lawsuit?
I've talked to so many contestants and like literally we're all in agreement that like, yeah, there were some problems. Or most people, like the overwhelming, like 99% of the majority were like, yeah, there were problems, but it was valid and we had a good experience. Like their main grievance is like some random person that was a contractor that like treated them poorly. Yeah. Or it's like, PMV level mismanagement of like their underwear. So they were denied like 24 hours longer than usual. Or like, they would lie about the medication that they needed and then it wasn't there, it was like stuff like that.
Is there anything you want to shout out or anybody you want to shout out for the video? Anything like that?
Oh, wait, is this going to be in the video?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it's cool. My name's Evan Ragas. I'm a YouTuber. Yeah, dude, that's lit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool, bro. How did you feel about just the situation in a general sense? I don't know how long it's been since it ended for you, but looking back, is there a really good moment that you can think of from it?
Some of my favorite moments were on the island, actually, bonding with my friends there. The Beast City was really, really fun to hang out in because we played so many games together. It felt like a giant summer camp. I would definitely say, I think nighttime when we were on the island, like not the Beast Island, but the vacation island. Yeah. I remember we all just hung out and watched a movie together. And it was like the view was absolutely beautiful. And we just had a blast. We just had a blast. We were dancing and singing and having the best time ever. It was fun.
What about bad moments? What was the worst moment?
In the games?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say probably the red boxes challenge. I really didn't like that one. That one felt mean. It was really I don't like the self-elimination stuff. I never enjoyed that. And it was really hard to leave a friend, like a really close friend behind. And so that was definitely probably the worst moment for me, was just having to go through that.
What about out of the games? What you were going to say something, you specified in the games. What's the other option?
I would say one of the most interesting times I had was coming back from Vegas and being put in a hotel called Whiskey Pete's.
Nice. High quality hotel.
Very. It got shut down this December.
Oh no, for what?
So this isn't really their fault. I feel kind of bad for them. They were told by the staff at that hotel that it was safe, that they had rooms and all that kind of stuff. We get there and the building's condemned.
Oh, yikes. So it's staying at old condemned Whiskey Pete's.
It was interesting. But the thing was that they literally, as soon as they found out, we didn't even spend the night there. They sent out party buses to get us, and they took us to the Fontainebleau, which is like the nicest hotel in Vegas. Okay. So it was okay, but oh my gosh, that was a situation for sure. It was very interesting.
Interesting. Whiskey Pete's. Did you ever have to get things like chapstick or medication or anything like that? And if so, what was the process like acquiring needed items like that?
So I never had trouble getting my medication. I did have medication I had to take. It was smoother in Toronto for sure, but I did get my medication when I was in Vegas. It wasn't like I was not able to get it.
Did you ever see anybody dehydrated or that needed like a genuine medical assistance from the staff or team? Did you witness anything like that?
So I witnessed, okay, well, I did see something during the very first game in Vegas. There was somebody who I think had a seizure, and they rushed. I remember standing literally in the hallway where the medical people were like booking it past me to get to the guy. I remember seeing a girl, maybe like two girls, like run into each other during the flag game. But once we got to Toronto, I don't know that I witnessed really any medical problems. I don't remember anything happening at all. Like, okay.
I heard one guy said there was too much water. Is that true?
There was way too much water. Okay. There was way too much. I will never drink. I probably
liquid death.
Put them down. You don't know. It was everywhere, and it's too pure. The water, like I'm not getting the mineral I need.
Yeah. What do you think about the food? Was it amazing, or was there not enough, or what?
So, okay, there's two different things. There's Vegas food, and then there was Toronto food. Toronto was great. I actually thought that the food was pretty good, and we always had plenty of food. Like in the Beast City, plenty of food, lots of food, and it was pretty good. Vegas, we got food. It's not like we didn't. We had 3 meals a day. I mean, it wasn't delicious. I felt fine. I felt like I had enough, but I'm not sure if it would be enough for somebody like a grown man, but I felt fine.
What about the Feastables? Was there enough Feastables?
Oh my God, there was an economy. There was a bartering economy.
I've heard that as well. I've heard that as well.
Really?
Yeah.
There were so many people trading it. Yes. Yeah. I always traded mine for other people's eggs because I wanted the extra protein.
I've heard that multiple times as well. No Prime though.
No Prime. Well,
no
okay.
Prime.
Oh wait, would I be allowed? Yeah, I think I'd be allowed to say that. There was Prime at one point later in the games, but only partnered with Lunchly. So.
Oh yo.
Yeah. I know.
Did you feel like they tortured you for entertainment? Did you feel like you were exploited?
I didn't feel tortured, no.
Yeah,
I say tortured.
Yeah, I talked to a fella, Evan, who is very funny. I really liked speaking to him. He's an excellent, great, funny guy. And he was laughing hysterically about being tortured for entertainment. He didn't mean it in a serious way, obviously, but I figured that it would be, a question to ask. So I wouldn't say tortured either.
I can't say I was tortured.
Yeah.
I think it was fine.
What about the class action lawsuit? Do you know anything about that? Yeah, go ahead.
I do know about that. I've heard some things about it and people signing on to it. I just don't really know what they're going to. I didn't really feel like we were severely mistreated like people were saying. And I mean, that's just my take on it. I felt like we were treated fine. Like I just didn't feel like it was warranted, I guess. And so I actually know some people who are going to sign on to it, but it's not because they necessarily thought they were mistreated. They're just kind of like, well, we might get money from this.
Okay.
Like we might get a lot of money.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people as well, to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah, that seems to be the common consensus as to why people are signing on the class action lawsuit. Looking back, do you regret your participation? Are you glad you did it?
I'm glad I did it. I made some lifelong friends for sure. Like
Cool.
I literally am going to Colorado in March to hang out with a bunch of them.
That's cool.
I love them so much. And I'm really glad I did it. I think it was kind of good for me. It was like a new, very different experience. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really glad I did it. That's basically.
Yeah, is there anything you want to shout out or anything you want to say in regard to the Beast Games, or, you know, is there anything else you want to say about the Beast Games before we sign off?
I think the only thing I would say is that I am sad that they didn't cover our relationships with each other as much.
Okay.
There was so much going on, and I feel like that's probably part of the reason people are really having a hard time connecting with the show. I really feel like there was a lack, and it wasn't like there was a lack of drama or relationships or things like that going on in the games. There was so much of that, and I definitely think that it is unfortunate that there wasn't as much of that on the show. That's one thing that does make me sad, even though it is really cool to see all of the stuff that was going on. And they did do a wonderful job showing the games and that stuff going on. I wish they had shown our relationships more and all the friendships and the drama and the cliques and all that kind of stuff. Like the reality TV portion of it that we thought we were gonna see more. I just wish we had seen that.
You should join the class action lawsuit.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Oh my gosh, that was torturous.
Anyways, yeah, no, I appreciate your time. Is there anything you want to shout out, your YouTube channel or Instagram or whatever your primary social media is?
Yes, my YouTube is at Cornelia Bunny, and it's at Cornelia Bunny on literally all my social media if you want to follow me. I do talk about the Beast Games and my experience on each episode and interview other contestants from episodes, like maybe like parts that I wasn't in as much. So if you ever want to come check that out.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I will talk to you. Have a good rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You too.
What was the worst moment for you, just in particular? What was just kind of like the worst thing you witnessed that you were a part of, whatever? Just what sticks in your mind as being like the negative event of the Beast Games?
There's a huge separation between those who got eliminated in Vegas versus Canada. So Canada, obviously Beast Games took over that whole production. After they realized Mystic Pictures couldn't handle having 2,000 people on a show. So one of my close friends ended up making it Canada, and he was the one who was telling us like they got way more food, they were able to kind of get whatever they wanted and everything else. So there's a huge divide between us who got eliminated in Vegas because we felt like we went through like the more challenging part of Beast Games versus those who went to Canada had like more privilege and they get to have like their jerseys back and they get to go to premieres and we don't. And we understood that only 1,000 was going to make it onto the show. But I think the aspect of us having the more challenging part of the whole Beast Games experience makes us a little more frustrated that we don't get our jerseys back, that we don't get certain perks that the others do.
Did you feel like they were taking care of you in terms of your well-being, safety, things like that?
Yeah, so my close friend that I actually like slept with every night, he actually never got his bag for like underwear and undergarments and all like the like our cleaning stuff pretty much. And so at one point too, he lost his sleeping bag. So he actually had to use somebody else's who got eliminated. So yeah, that was like one thing. He also was on meds, and he would be fortunate enough to get in line really quickly because he had to have food with his meds. So that was one thing he said, that like some people wouldn't get in line fast enough and they wouldn't have food for them with their meds or just different things like that. Another friend that I slept with, I had to borrow her chapstick because it was just very dry in the atmosphere. So a lot of us were having like chapped lips, and it was like to the point where it was like just really like breaking type of chapped lips. So a lot of it depended on like your last name. Like I had B as my last name, and so I was kind of first to everything.
Okay.
So other people didn't have that privilege if they were like a Z last name.
What about dehydration, things like that? Not getting enough food?
So obviously, well, I'm like a real nutritional person. So I was kind of suffering on that aspect just because we only had liquid death to drink for as far as water. So that is not the most hydrating source of water. Here and there, they would have Gatorade packs and electrolyte packs. And I was, again, fortunate that I would randomly go to the bathroom and figure out that it was there, because most people didn't realize it was there. Like there wasn't like a public announcement that the Gatorades were here. And then, the meal aspect of it, a lot of that got hard on me because I'm a vegan. And so certain people who weren't vegan didn't like their meals because the chicken was undercooked. So they would steal the vegan meals. So a lot of times, a lot of vegans didn't get their meals. The nutrition aspect of it was like, I was running on ketones a lot of the time because I wasn't getting a lot of proper nutrition, which is why I think I got eliminated, because I got eliminated during the flag competition, which was a running challenge. And that was hard for me because I was already running on ketones. So it was kind of like blurred vision. So it's hard for me to run and keep stamina while I was like running without proper nutrition. That
makes sense. That's perfectly valid. What kind of food did they give people with a vegan proclivity?
So we had the oatmeal, but I think it was almond milk in it. And then we had the fruit with it. And then we had the lunch portion was kind of like a quinoa or sometimes white rice with tofu and like broccoli.
Did you ever feel like exploited at any point? Did you feel like it was just kind of unfair, truly? Or, is it more so just you recognize it's a competition and maybe Mystic Pictures or whoever, the initial production company, maybe they couldn't handle the 2,000 people? Like, what is your opinion there? Did you ever feel exploited?
So that's an interesting take. So my friend that I'm closer friends with from the games, she a lot of the females felt like this was going to be like very white male type of show, because they felt like some of the competitions were going to be easier for men to win versus us, and they didn't want to go through some of the Beast Games competitions. Like, shoot, I'm blanking on which YouTube video it was, but some of them ended up being an outcome where it was male majority were winning those games. But then there was the other aspect of a lot of the females fighting with each other, so we didn't want to help each other to win those games. So there was a lot of that perception, not among me but among the group in general, of that happening, which is why you see kind of in the show when the whole episode, what was it, 3 that we just happened, or 4, where they're having the whole religious thing that comes into effect, and they're just like, there's no diversity when he tries to select mainly males and mainly happen to be white males. That always came into play early on. It just barely showed on the show.
Okay. What about the class action lawsuit? Do you know anything about that? Have you heard anything about that? I know there's a big rumor mill amongst all the Beast Games people. That might be more Canada. I'm not sure. I really don't know too much. The only thing I knew is that like there have been people in our group chats that like just said that they wanted to go through the lawsuit to get extra money because obviously they kind of got eliminated earlier. So that's one aspect of it. And then I did meet a girl that when I was about to sign my contract to say I'm accepting the 2,000 and I got eliminated from Beast Games, that she didn't sign her contract, and she was kind of trying to convince me to go on a lawsuit with her, but I said, hey, I don't want to do all that. Like, I'm good. So I'm not sure how far she got with it, but I know as soon as most people were eliminated in Vegas, that some of them just felt like with their experience being more negative than mine, that they were actually just always going to go ahead with it, which is why they didn't sign out for the 2,000. I see. Yeah, those are all very fair criticism. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Is there anything you want to shout out, any social media or, anything you want to say to viewers?
If you want to follow someone that posts like an Instagram model, my handle's like Peace Heart J and it's JAE. But yeah, my name's Jalen. That's all there really is.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Jalen. Did the environment ever feel unsafe at any point, or, you know, how was that handled?
For me personally, no. Never felt unsafe. I will say that when you're put on a platform with 100 or 99 other people, and you find out that if one person leaves the platform, everyone else will be eliminated. I mean, that didn't feel safe merely because I don't trust everybody. Like, the stories I heard afterwards were like kind of confirming what I had suspected all along. Apparently one guy got so angry that he ripped off his shirt, maybe threw a water bottle at the contestant that eliminated them all, and supposedly had to be escorted away in handcuffs. Like,
wow.
Because of the nature of the competition, I mean, the MrBeast team and the third party, they cannot control what people are going to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's always that unknown aspect of having contestants on a game show. And some people are there to compete. They're taking it very seriously.
Right.
As far as feeling unsafe in the games go, personally, I didn't experience anything beyond that.
Okay.
I felt good about everything that I competed in. But I am a man, and so I recognize that I had an advantage in some of our competitions. But I mean, that didn't stop women from qualifying. We actually had a lot of men who, during the flag game, they had the athletic ability to compete, but they chose instead to stay behind, and they were like charismatic leaders. They led the people that they cared about to the flags, and so a lot of women made it through, even though against most men, they wouldn't have been able to outrace them.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard that from another guy as well. Were you ever denied anything or delayed anything that you needed? No.
No, I literally asked for mundane things like chapstick, and they got it to me as soon as I asked. So, I mean, some people, they may expect things to come to them, but anybody that was proactive got what they needed, in my experience.
Okay.
Now, I have heard stories about people who had certain medications that they required. I had no medication. The only thing I needed were my contacts and the solution for my contacts, and that was made available to me 24/7 because they just said I could keep it on me. But you know, initially there was some confusion as to whether or not I should be in the medical line, so I did spend some time in the pre-production finding out that I don't need to be on the line. So there was a little bit of disorganization, but I felt as though they were pretty on top of it. And you know, they did regularly, I saw them and heard them come to make medicine rounds, and they tried to wrangle people together. If there were people that fell through the cracks, then they did. I can't speak to that. I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. After shooting for Vegas was finished, a lot of things that came out were kind of surprising to me. It was kind of frustrating because most of us were still under NDAs. We were limited in what we could say. We couldn't even confirm that we were competitors.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating to have to wait for a moment like this where I get to speak to somebody like yourself.
Yeah.
To kind of clear the air. Because you know, we have our own little private group chats where we talk amongst ourselves, and you know, some people shared frustrations, some people countered those frustrations, but a lot of people who lost early were very frustrated, and a lot of them looked at opportunities to talk to media as, you know, a quick payday, especially if they could remain anonymous and shit talk the games that they didn't enjoy at the same time. It's not fair for me to assume what their motivations were, and again, 2,000 people, I can't speak for everyone. Everyone has their own experiences.
Yeah.
But me personally, I didn't experience any of the things that were said. And anytime somebody got injured, you know, medical staff, you know, took them away and assessed that injury right away. And some people even came back to the games. The first guy who had the seizure, he came back to the games. He was cleared and he was fine for the rest of the competition. So there was one lady. She said that during, I think it was the flag game, she got kicked in the head. It was either the flag game or the case game. And she was on that Rosanna's YouTube channel. But the thing that she didn't tell anybody was that on set, we heard her say it. Medical asked her if she's okay. And she said, oh, no, it was just a little bump. I'm fine to keep going. It's fine. Don't worry about me. And like, apparently she was very, I didn't hear all of it, but apparently she was very stubborn about it. She's like, yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. And what are you gonna say? You can't force medical treatment on somebody unless you literally see them bleeding from the head.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, they took her word for it, and they left her as is. And then later she claimed to have some sort of traumatic brain injury. That may be true. I've spoken to production, and they've said if she ever reaches out to us for any type of help at all, we are more than happy to make it right and make sure she's okay. But to this point, she has not reached out to us. She doesn't appear to be interested in conversation with us. So, and what can they do? I mean, they can't force medical treatment on somebody.
What about the class action lawsuit? What do you think about that?
Personally, I think that these are vulnerable people being taken advantage of by a law firm that just wants to use this as PR for themselves. I'll be surprised if any lawsuit actually ever sees the light of day, much less a courthouse. I mean, if you examine some of the accusations, unfair compensation, we were contestants, we weren't being paid. That was made clear from day one before we even signed the contract.
Yeah.
B, they gave us each $2,000 no matter when we were eliminated. So if you got eliminated within 30 minutes, here you go, $2,000. $2,000 for a week of your time is incredible. That's very generous.
Yeah.
And then for people who lasted until Toronto or until Puerto Rico or whatever, you know, we each got guaranteed money. That cost them over $4 million total. So it's like unfair compensation. What are we even talking about here? Like, to me, there are a lot of entitled people, and it is what it is. I have things to complain about from the way the games were held and the way I feel I was eliminated, but I don't think that was any sort of malevolence on the MrBeast team's part. I just think it was an oversight.
Cool. I mean, is there anything else? Is there anything you want to shout out? Is there anything else you want to say? Like anything bad, particularly something you're proud of or good? Before we hop off here, I've got to go to another meeting here in a second.
I would say the MrBeast team makes an effort to do things right. And if they find out that they're doing something wrong, they usually go above and beyond to fix it. These glasses were paid for by the MrBeast team. When I was eliminated in the first round of Toronto games and I fell through the trap door, I lost my glasses and they were getting everybody out pretty quickly. And I didn't even register that I'd lost them. I was wearing contacts. The glasses were in my pocket. When I later reported the glasses missing, they reimbursed me for the full price. It was like $400 pair of glasses. Prior to the games beginning in Toronto, when we were all in our hotels, MrBeast personally went to every single hotel, and we each got almost one-on-one time with him where we could ask any question we wanted. And this was in the midst of all the scandals between him, Chris Tyson, and everybody else. So it was a stressful time for him, but he made an effort to connect with each of us on a personal level and let us know that, hey, if you have any concerns or things that you need to clear the air on, I'm here to do that. I want to make sure that we do this right. And we're sorry for what happened in Las Vegas, but that will not be happening here.
Do you think any of the negatives hold water in your mind? Is there any kind of negative moment for you? Like if there was a constructive criticism you would have for Beast Games Part 2, what would you tell them?
Absolutely. There actually is something negative in the forefront of my mind. And I've given this a lot of thought, like ever since, it's been talked about, but it's probably not going to be what you're thinking. The negative thing that's happening for me is the experience of others. I don't want people that were there that went through the same thing that I went through to tarnish how I see things. And so here's what I mean by that. Okay. You and I can go through the exact same events and we may have two separate opinions about that same event. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So bitter people, honestly, for lack of better words, bitter people piss me off. And I'm not even talking about just the contestants. Okay. There are people that they got eliminated. They felt like, they went out earlier than they wanted. And so as a result, they're butthurt. So they are just bitching and moaning and groaning and everything online. And what they're doing is it's making me resentful of people like that. It's like people that don't know how to be in a competition. And once again, like I said, I'm a little bit older. So I came from a generation to where we knew how to be winners, but we also knew how to be losers. And if you won, there's nothing wrong with bragging. Okay. The world right now says you're not supposed to brag, but if we lost, we learned how to try harder next time. Nowadays, we're in an era of participation trophies, and I'm not okay, you're not okay, but that's okay. And that's what sucks. And that stems not just from the contestants of the Beast Games, but look at where else it's coming from. I'm gonna throw some names out here that I guarantee Rosanna Pansino, I'll throw her name out there. Dog Pack. Okay, so who are these people? Well, Rosanna Pansino, I can't say her name, Rosanna Pansino, she participated in a competition of MrBeast, and she didn't win the competition. As a matter of fact, she's bitching because it's not that she's bitching because she didn't win. She's bitching because she's like, oh, they claimed I got a lesser place than I actually did. Listen, if you didn't win, it doesn't matter if you came in second place or last place, you didn't win. So as a result, she's taking that whole thing and turning it into just a massacre online. And so as a result, you find anybody that's just as butthurt as she is, they're reaching out to her like some sort of ambassador, and she's like, come flock around my children, I will be your voice. And that's what sucks, is because she has the influence, because she has all these followers, so people are going to take everything she said and go, yep, it's got to be true because she said it. Or people like Dogpack, who, Dawson, this guy wasn't around for hardly any time at all, but because, you know, he is really well at making a couple of videos, I feel like people are having to over explain things that don't need to be explained. You know, like Vital Vegas, you know, put out an article, you know, and we all read it, and, you know, and they were talking about multiple people were going to the hospital with all these injuries and this and that, and it's just, listen, I was there, I'm telling you, okay, it was nothing like, if it was anything even a fraction like how some of the tabloids were putting it out there, it would have gotten halted immediately. It wouldn't have gone as far as it did. Amazon themselves would be like, we're not touching this with a 10-foot pole. And that's something you have to look at. If there was really that much controversy going, it wouldn't have gone on. That's the bottom line right there. It really wouldn't have. So that's the thing that I would say I'm probably the most regretful about, is not on anything that I experienced, but the way that other people just don't know how to just walk away from something and go, well, I tried. But at the end of the day, a competition involves winner and it involves losers. You gotta that's your coin toss. You're gonna be one or the other. You can't, you know, you can't all walk away winners. That's the thing right there, you know. Luckily I got thick skin, so, you know, people's like, oh, you're involved in that? Yeah, I was. How'd you feel about it? I enjoyed it. And that's my bottom line right there.
Well, shit, man. What do you think about the lawsuit?
So that really falls into play with what we were talking about. What, 5 people, the 5 of the biggest butthurt unnamed people ever are going to go into this class action lawsuit? Well, the way I see it, you know, they signed up for it trying to make some money, and it seems like they're still trying to. I would say good luck to them. You know, good luck. But I can tell you this, I'm not involved in it.
What is your biggest takeaway? Is it the camaraderie? Was it the opportunity from being a part of the Beast Games?
What did I get the takeaway from there? Well, you know, at the end of the day, it was 2,000 people on a massive production. Okay, so was there a lot of learning to be done? Hell yeah. You know, obviously, there's no way you're going to have a well-oiled machine with 2,000 people. It's just not going to happen. But was it as bad as what people, you know, are talking about online? Hell no. Because you know what they say, good news travels so far, bad news travels indefinitely.
Yeah.
And all it takes is a couple of rumors, and the internet will just spread it like wildfire. So what did I get out of this? I can tell you the hotel situation was pretty cool. I've never been to Vegas. So hey, take a look at it this way. I got a free trip to Vegas and a pretty dope ass hotel. That was cool.
Yeah.
Was there a whole lot of standing around and waiting? Yeah. If you've ever been a part of any type of production, you're going to find out there is a whole hell of a lot of hurry up and wait. Okay. So for people that are complaining about waiting around, deal with it. Okay. Once again, for those of us that were in the military, hurry up and wait is that's our bread and butter, you know. As far as, you know, were they starving people? Listen, do I look like, if I stood up, you'd be like, he ain't ever starving. No, they were not starving people. And I will only speak from my experience because, like I said, there's 2,000 people there. Everyone's got their own. But from my experience, I had a good time. I guess season 2 Beast Games comes around. Hopefully they'll give me a call. You know, I'm looking at some redemption. You know, God knows I am, because I had way higher expectations for myself, but I can only blame myself. You know, it's, if I would have gotten eliminated in a challenge, all right, fine. That's part of the competition. But going out the way that I did, not necessarily my proudest moment, I'll tell you that. So
that's fair. I mean, I really feel like, I mean, you're very well, you're eloquent and articulate and prepared for this. Pretty much most people are from the same perspective that you're from. Aside from you actually needing some medication, a lot of the people that I've spoken to didn't actually need any medication, so they just you know, heard or they saw people having to wait in line, etc. But you needed nerve medication for sciatica, and like, to me, that's kind of the biggest thing, right? Like that can genuinely be a reason someone would be pushed out of the games, is if they can't get their medication on time. And then everything else, like the food thing, it seems like it was, you know, maybe not the best food, but everybody was getting food. Yeah, and like, I'm not sure. I mean, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything you want to shout out? Is there anything you want to talk about? Any, you know, follow your TikTok, your Instagram, anything?
You know, I mean, of course, I want everybody to just love me. You know, that's the thing. I don't care if anybody likes me. Okay, my goal is not to make people like me. My goal is to make the world love me. Yeah. Will that ever happen? I don't know. One person at a time, I suppose. But I don't know if this will ever make it to the video, but hey, if you're willing to let it, I sure as hell will. Well, Instagram is merch6903, TikTok merch6903, and YouTube, well, if you ever decide you want to see me on YouTube, it's not that hard to find, but you can find me at YouTube, the legendary merch, and that's all spelled MERCH. So, but if not, all you gotta do is just type in 42. I'm sure you'll find me somewhere.
Cool. Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate your time. Did you ever feel unsafe in a competition, or, you know, how is the staff reacting to the general safety of the competing in events? Did you witness any injuries, things like that?
I would say that I definitely witnessed a couple injuries in Vegas. I think after that whole thing happened, when we moved over to the next section for the actual Beast Games, it was just so much better run. Everybody was fed really well. You know what I mean? It felt like a different transition.
And did you witness any broken bones or anything yourself? You just heard about it?
I basically just, during the flag game, when people are running, just two people running at the flag at the same time, and it can get aggressive if two people are grabbing the same flag, so somebody might, shoulder somebody and then they'll hit the ground.
Yeah.
But that's really it. They didn't really get too hurt though. It's just they're on the ground and they get up and they just go like this. And they're
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about medical things? I don't know if you have any medication that the staff had to give to you, or you knew anybody who had to go through that, because that's one of the bigger things right now is people talking about difficulty in getting their medication. Did you witness anything along that lines?
I don't have any medication personally, but I do know a couple of other people that I met in the games that had that issue. Number 42, from the 1 to 100, he was there. I know that he left the games due to a medical thing, to not getting his medication on time. But I know that the medication thing was definitely they just were misorganized. There's 2,000 people. They scaled it up. I don't think they were prepared for it.
That makes sense. And you didn't really witness anybody, what about the nurse lines? Did you ever have to go into one of the lines to get some kind of item like chapstick or something like that?
Yeah. Actually, I did. So with the things with the chapsticks, they constantly run out of stuff. And even with the Gatorade, everyone was so in need of Gatorade and Feastables that it became some form of currency within the game. It was so weird. It was a little weird. People were stockpiling on Gatorades and Feastables and using it as currency. It was really weird.
They didn't do Prime? It was Gatorade?
Nah, it was just I believe it was Gatorade. I think it was Gatorade. I'm pretty sure it was Gatorade.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I mean...
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention... with the thing with the chapstick thing is that, I was trying to get it, but I couldn't get my hands on it because there's just so many people online waiting for it, so I just gave up and didn't get it at all.
So the lines were very long to those stations where they did divvy out supplies like that.
The chapstick thing, I think it was just ask a guard and they may or may not have it.
Okay.
They weren't really ones. Yeah.
Got you. What about dehydration, things like that?
So I was actually, so the thing is about dehydration is that we actually had so much water to the point where we were actually asking Jimmy to stop because we didn't want to have to pee in the middle of challenge.
I see.
Because what I genuinely thought, he gave us a ton of Liquid Death. I thought the sponsor was Liquid Death because every day and every moment they're handing out Liquid Death to everybody.
Interesting. So too much water.
Yeah. No, it was actually so much water. Yeah.
How were the producers and the staff? Did you feel like they ever sort of dropped the ball? Were they kind? Did you enjoy your experience with them?
Yeah, they were really nice. I think that our experience, they were constantly make sure that the players are okay, make sure that the players are having a good time. They were checking up on us on a lot, especially because in between challenges, it took hours and hours. Everything else in between, everyone it was just kind of the players kind of making stuff up, and I know that most of the games didn't go as he planned. Except for I think I don't think any of the games went right actually. In the video, the suitcase game with the memory thing, and he did the twist with the yellow team.
Yeah.
He said that he showed the screen for a second, but he actually wasn't supposed to. It's just that yellow team was rioting so much about fairness that he just said, fuck it, we'll show it to you for a second. But
interesting. What about undergarments? Did they lose your underwear? Did you get your underwear on time?
Oh yeah, no, I never got my underwear, but I just told them they can keep it. I bought a new pair.
Is that real? You actually did?
Yeah, I did. I bought a new pair because I did not want to wait for them to give me my underwear.
That's awesome. That's so funny. You can keep it.
Yeah. The worst thing is they took my underwear and they never even used it. I couldn't even get it when I was in the game.
Now, just for kind of a more general question, do you feel like you enjoyed it, right? You had a good time. Yeah. Do you feel like fundamentally it is exploitive? Do you care? Like, from that perspective, what do you think? Like, do you think you were tortured for entertainment? Like, what do you think?
No.
What do you think about that?
So yeah, I don't think that we were exploited. I think that most people come out of the games with more than what they came in with. Okay. If not with like a bunch of money, but with like new friends and families. Right. I mean, like, most of the people are adults, right? So it's a really great opportunity for everyone to just kind of like not have to worry about things. You're in the game and you're just having fun, you know what I mean? I mean, I literally can go through my like friends list on Instagram and I'll have mutuals in the hundreds with like everyone.
That's cool. That's really cool, actually. So it's like it was a really tight-knit group of people. That's interesting. What do you think about all the people in the class action lawsuit, the really upset contestants?
I actually do have something about that. So I would say that the class action lawsuit is actually a very unpopular thing amongst most of the Beast players. And it's to a point where most of the people in the class action either hide or won't tell anybody they're a part of it because they'll get a lot of shit from like all the group chats.
Interesting.
Because most people are against it.
Okay, that's the consensus that I've gotten as well. And I'm having a terrible time finding someone who is a part of, obviously they're part of the lawsuit. They're not going to be like, you know, blah, 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 they're going to talk or whatever. But just finding someone who will at least acknowledge it is very difficult. So it's very clearly they're keeping it as hush-hush as they can. It seems like they don't want to talk about it. You know, it is part of a lawsuit, obviously, but you're saying as well, they get shit in the group chats. They get flamed.
Yeah, no, like literally one girl yesterday, she said, "Oh, I'm a part of the group chat," and then like suddenly the dead group chat comes to life, and 50 people are going do like, yeah.
Interesting.
It's great.
She said she was a part of the lawsuit.
Yeah, she just said she was a part of the lawsuit, and then yeah, everyone started flaming her.
Well, I mean, I hope that she didn't have too bad of an experience, but there was a guy who had a seizure as well. A lot of people have talked about him. I'm not sure if you witnessed that.
Yeah, I did hear about it. I never saw it.
It's I talked to one person who witnessed it directly, but everybody else heard about it. Some people were saying that like all the tests that you had to take or the questionnaires you had to fill out to get in, they were very strict. Even if you said something like as simple as you didn't have a good relationship with your parents, then they wouldn't let you in the games. And someone like him, the idea is that guy potentially lied about his condition to get into the games. And, you know, that was kind of why one of those things went wrong. That's what I've heard from a couple people.
Mm-hmm. I know that there's a bunch of people that lied about certain things. Like, yeah, they were pretty strict about getting in. They asked you a lot of questions before getting in. I mean, they even asked us if we were like allergic to olives because the floor was all made of olives, and I'm sure they would have kicked you out and said yes.
There was an olive floor, like olive tree, or?
No, it was the seeds. So I didn't believe them until afterwards. I thought they were fucking with me, but I found out later that they were being serious. The color of the floor was because the whole entire ground was covered with olive seeds or something.
What?
Yeah.
At least they asked the question in the questionnaire, I guess. Is there anything you want to shout out or say?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a dancer. If you want to follow, Will Dalu on Instagram. I'm right now attempting to build one of the largest dance battle competitions in the world. I built it from scratch, and I'm doing everything on YouTube. So
that's cool.
That's kind of my thing that I'm doing right now.